in the mid game. Acquire signs in terms of farm and also attack signs is something that gave him a lot of edge in the LPL in years past. And I just don't think that as a team, they're playing well enough early to even get to those points where that's a strategy that looks good for Weibo.
And not only that, I think something that really hasn't been touched on too much is, you know, the changes that have come to the game for 2026. I know that it's been months now, but, you know, side laning is way different than it was in seasons past. So that certainly feels like it has something to do with it. Into the picks and bans here, a lot of the most common offenders here, the double 80 carry ban that typically go top lane for NIP, looking to make sure that our boy Hoya is safe and sound. So we get that first pick, Cassiopeia, coming through.
Cinder response as a champion that can match Cassio bot if that does get flexed. One that I like to see. Also, fun to see Syndra when Xiaohu's in the lobby, as I hope he pilots this one. I was there for the Syndra top days, Yanni. It's a very memorable portion of his career with how good he was up there and playing some of his best champions in that top lane. But ability with the scatter, Syndra saw some pretty fat buffs going into MSI, and the fact that she's flexible bot, you know, we've really seen that propel her into the meta.
Listen, I even played against her in top lane in fives. You know, sometimes you just got to get it into the 80 carry that goes top. Obviously, we're not going to see that in this game, but that was certainly an experience. Nocturne going to be the lock-in here, going over to Jiejie. So you still have the options to pair it with the usual suspects like Aurora in the mid lane if you really wanted to. Seems like it could be a little bit of a tough matchup for that Cassiopeia goes mid. But again, just that flexibility that you have to be able to just slam the Syndra and be like, all right, you know, you get to play the guessing game. We're totally fine with wherever she goes. Ezreal, pick that's been seeing a lot of priority in 80 carry. One of the last few remaining pickable 80 carries, I guess, is going to get locked in.
I will say early split in LPL, small sample size, but Ezreal is the highest priority 80 carry at 8-2. So that's a pretty good start. It does feel like Ezreal is a response that you can have into a lot of the mages where you actually have kill threat in some of those lanes too when the supports go to walk. And they juiced Ezreal's numbers before MSI with the AP ratios for whatever reason they thought was necessary. But it has really helped with his wave clear, and it's been a strong pick globally heading into this patch. So I guess I guess the Cassio showing where it's at kind of allows for Weibo to lock in their top side if they want, as they're going to take the Ambessa. So we'll see if Zika is on the lookout for these scatters, because right now for Weibo, they turn the lights off, throw a scatter out, and then get Ambessa coming over the top. That's a pretty scary team fight for NIP, which Ezreal and Gnar have a couple ways of at least maneuvering out of. But if those scatters land sound, it's going to be Zika following up on the priority targets of the public executions.
Yeah, and if you take down this Cassiopeia, you take down Care, that's a lot of DPS that's going to be gone in an instant. You will greatly struggle. Now, obviously, if it's Ambessa getting on top of her, you drop your miasma properly, it's not as bad. You can find a way out of that scenario and survive if you go a little bit more defensive. So it's something to look out for. But if any of the other two get caught, they are going to be ripped to shreds quickly. Second half of the draft here, we're already seeing that Poppy getting taken out, making sure that Zika's game is as playable as possible. Because, as mentioned, against the Cassiopeia, it can be a little bit difficult sometimes when the Ambessa has to go up against her.
Yeah, Poppy ban means the Camille ban quick to follow, as Poppy has been the second most banned champion so far in the LPL, as really feel like her ability to be flexible and pair up with mages, and then also just be the answer into Camille that we've seen, it really has juiced the priority for a champion that is really strong. So see her taking off the board and lead Sin, as of course the Nocturne is showing, but we don't think jungle for NIP is showing us. They have quite the surprise up their sleeve. So NIP able to at least focus on the bot lane with some bans. I think taking away the Lucian is something I was about to bring up the Ziggs, as Ziggs can make life kind of difficult for Syndra and be played in the Ezreal pretty easy. So, and to me, that Elk plays quite well. So curious if we end up seeing Ziggs come through.
Yeah, I do wonder if that's going to be the case. I feel like you have a lot of good physical damage coming out of your Nocturne, your Ambessa. You have the Shen to be able to protect them for when they go in. So it's definitely a playable Ziggs angle here for Weibo Gaming if they want it. NIP, you know, you're pretty much locked into your jungle support at this point. Struggle, if they lock that in, would look pretty good. Gives you that nice early aggressive angle to be able to invade on the Nocturne pre-6, try to keep them off balance.
Yeah, so early in those duels, Nocturne can kind of play it because the fear is quite nice in the Trundle. Like, you kind of have to flash commit and get weird. I don't love the Trundle right now because you steal resistances from a tank, and Shen, Ambessa, and Nocturne aren't exactly going to be building resistances until far later on. So I think the pillar and the way that it interacts with Cassio is quite good. However, I could see Trundle being quite vulnerable into what Weibo has so far. So I guess a wee bit surprised to see it now. And I think this does put a lot of pressure on at least looking out for the miasma from Care. Because outside of the Ezreal, NIP is a bit challenged in terms of range this game. So if those grounds can connect, though, which synergize really well with the rest of the team, I think that's where NIP is going to really look to attack in the fights. And Kai'Sa would be someone that's really vulnerable to that if this does get locked in for Elk as he picks up the Kai'Sa.
You know what? I think it works very well here. You've got two divers, so why not add the Kai'Sa into the mix with the Shen on top of it? This is a nice dive comp that Weibo Gaming's got out here, but they also have some good pick potential too. They can play it multiple different ways, get that initial pick to take control of an objective, you know, near the dragon or up at the Grubs or the Heralds, and then hit the full-on go button later. I like what they put out here. The one dislike I have, though, is that NIP, I think their lanes are pretty good in the early going.
Yeah, I feel like this is a Weibo comp that can really attack sides just with Nocturne and Bessa. And I like the fact that scatter into public execution is something that's going to be really good. Also, turning off the lights makes those public executions more threatening. That said, I think that NIP, when they're grouped up, that miasma is going to be really tough for the compo Weibo to deal with. So a lot of eyes are on Care, because you pointed out, Yanni, Kai'Sa in a dive comp is going to feel really good getting out to the back line. But if the Petrifying Gaze is clean, Cassio loves to be in games where she's getting jumped on. She's not going to struggle with range outside of the scatter going into the Syndra. So I think if Kara can pilot around that all right, I really like the grouped up scenarios here for NIP and the way that Trundle, Cassio, and Alistar can play off each other specifically. Just with Alistar's combo, the pillar, and the miasma kind of setting up for that can really empower that Cassio early in the game.
A lot of disruption on the NIP side. Let's see if they can break the well-crafted comp of Weibo Gaming. The first game of the first series of a 3-series day starts now.
Done pretty good in the new arena there, Yanni. As we break this one in, of course, IG and LPL format for this split. Home stands every week, so these guys are traveling around week to week. So week 2 in the new IG arena for the week. See if everyone can bring their best to christen the new arena in the LPL.
Yeah, very cool. Like, you know, like we said a little bit earlier, weren't sure if this arena was going to get up and running for the 2026 final split. Looks like they were. Anyway, going in immediately onto Elk. They're going to get that exhaust down to get this priority as JWei had to block that last Mystic shot. Elk down to about 100 HP with a pot running. He's going to take that recall.
Yeah, Elk actually blows the Ghost. So, gonna at least try to stick around. Doesn't lose a ton in terms of minion XP. Fengyue.
This is risky.
Oh, it is risky. Fengyue doesn't have flash. So it does have the Hex Flash, can't get in there against Elk. Elk just gets the level and then is able to stick around in the lane. But early HP war won by Photic, as the early HP war mid being won by Care.
Yeah, we're not really seeing Guwon take advantage of it. It's not going to try to move into Jiejie, as you mentioned earlier. The Nocturne can kind of fight a little bit with the way the lanes were initially going, especially in this mid lane. You would think that maybe you would have had to look for an opportunity to go in. JWei going to move over. They have a little bit of vision. Obviously, they're going to know where Jiejie is, but not too surprising, all things considered.
Yeah, we'll see if any wars break out over that bot crab. It does look like Jiejie going to move on up. Posture for the top crab. So early on, just going to be Care getting some push into Xiaohu. And honestly, Xiaohu's getting forced off a lot here. That's XP now being lost, as he did not ding level 4 to not get creeps from those last 2 mage creeps that died to the turret. So well played by Care to secure that early advantage for himself.
An excellent start for the NIP mid laner. It's just a matter of converting it. You know, this is a guy who was formerly an FPX franchise player. They folded. This is a guy that, you know, people had some expectations for to be a solid player. Those really haven't come to fruition yet, but he has looked pretty solid in 2026, I'd say, and has an opportunity to take that next step. And if you have good starts like this, you can convert that into good games. He'll be a pretty solid mid laner in this league for a long time.
Speaking of good starts in the lanes, Elk might be in trouble here, fishing for a minion. Gonna lose the flash to the pillar of Guwon, as he stuck around a long time to try and get that flash out of Elk. But you called it out early on. You like some of these lanes for NIP. Azriel does have that range advantage against the Kai'Sa early on. Photic and Fengyue made good use of that in the lane, and now Guwon taking that flash away means that Elk is in even more trouble as this wave is frozen against him.
Yeah, it's so difficult to deal with right now. And you know, the good news is Photic's not really getting too much more out of it other than just some gold. He's getting some tier stacks, but not really too much oppression to put down onto Elk. No way to really punish, but this is a pretty punishable play. There's an extra turret shot's going to go down onto JWei. Now it's a matter of does Photic want more. Take that Acathian range straight to the mouth. Meanwhile, Guwon and Jiejie going after each other for a little bit. There's that fear that you were talking about earlier, taking Guwon down to about half HP. Care this time is pinned under his turret and can't really help, but force the flash out of Guwon. Take him down to about 100 HP.
Nice catch there. We'll see if JJ is able to defend his own Raptor camp, because I expect that's exactly where he's going to path to after this. So Guwon cannot answer it. Well played. Care going to take the base, going to sack the camp. So +1 over to Jiejie. But yeah, I do think that, you know, like, Trundle has value this game. A lot of it's going to be the pillar and how it interacts with Weibo. I think there are definitely positives for NIP later on, but early on, duel-wise, Nocturne does win these, as Spell Shield, Trundle doesn't get a ton of value out of that against the Nocturne, and fear means that Trundle can't rampage with auto attacks. Speaking of rampaging bot, JWei.
Yep. There's that flash taunt down. Fengyue gonna go in and go down. It is first blood to Elk on his legendary Kai'Sa. Despite the fact that they kept him down in the early game, he's still getting gold.
Yeah, just a good look coming out from Jiejie. Not respected by the NIP bot lane, as they were trying to get that wave in. Jiejie is able to interact beforehand. So Elk picks up a kill. That said, the response from Guwon might just be to take that first neutral objective for themselves, which it looks like NIP is going to get. So I think it helps alleviate some of the pain that Elk was experiencing in the lane phase, but Guwon should be a pretty happy camper to make sure this first neutral does go over to his team to secure it. So not all bad for NIP.
Nope. And the next objective will be those grubs in about 2 minutes, Cubby. I think that both of these teams definitely want a bite of the grubs. You know, you could make a lot of value happen with Zika on this Ambessa if you get some free time on a turret, but you take a look at NIP solo laners, you expect them to really be able to shove waves quickly. Hoya able to use his range for some stray auto attacks on the turret if he gets advantage. Could get a lot of value out of those.
Actually, didn't really talk about that top lane matchup. Ambessa didn't opt for the electrocute this time around. Going to be the grasp for Zika, so a little bit more power just in the team fight stage. But of course, those grasp stacks pretty hard to proc against the Gnar, as Care getting forced out. There was a Paranoia available for Jiejie, as that has been recently acquired, as he dings 6 before Guwon. So maybe looking to pressure there if a potential scatter did come out, but Care able to walk on out. Will reset, and a minute before Grubs, it will be Xiaohu that is forced to respond with the resets. We'll see if Guwon is able to get any vision down to this topside river while he's up in mid laner. Not going to be the case.
I like that you mentioned that Jiejie has that Paranoia available. Everybody talks about the Nocturne timer. You know, once you ding level 6, it's however many ultimates that you can get off in such a short amount of time to flip 1v1s to 2v1s and 2v2s to 3v2s to generate the early gold lead, because Nocturne is a champion that later on, outside of that Paranoia, if you're not able to get onto a squishy and absolutely one-shot them, sure, you're bringing a lot of value cutting the vision, but you don't have a whole lot else. And so we might see a fight up in this top lane. It's a good pillar. It's going to force the flash out of Zika.
tool burn before the grub fight. No flash Ambessa. That said, Gnar did just mega out. So I think Guwon's kind of forced to hit the grubs here. There might be a response, but instead it's going bot.
All right, the Ezreal shift.
Oh, he broke
flash
tether.
Follow, but as you said, no tether, no kill. We'll get a Photic flash, but that is the first ultimate for Jiejie. Unsuccessful, I'd call it. If you're not getting kills, it's not a successful ult.
I am very unsuccessful. The flash for flash trade there too is a trade up for Ezreal, who of course has access to the blink. So Grub's just given away, and that flash from Jiejie, he's trying to maintain the tether. I think that you have to proactively flash that one just a little bit late, as good Ezreal mechanics. The E, that channel is cancelable, so you want to E flash, you don't want to flash E. It's faster animation-wise, and that difference might have been between Photic breaking the tether or not, which he did as he lives. So win for NIP as they get the grubs and get that first Paranoia cooldown used and survive it.
And he still has the exhaust on him too, so if Elk and JWei go for a full engagement, or if Jiejie shows up again with a second Paranoia, a shift and an exhaust can get you out of there still.
I like the fact that Photic opted for the exhaust again. Could be a game breaker against Elk later on. Or even against Zika coming into the backline. As a lot of value out of that summoner spell for Photic. It looks like Fengyue helping Care deal with this mid lane. Care looking for a base, and NIP. We'll see if they really want to look for this next dragon. I know that we kind of set this one up as a couple differing play styles. I really like what Weibo can do with the side lane play. Feels like NIP are going to have trouble matching that, with Nocturne having a semi-global, and they can bring Shen over the top too. That said, the grouped up scenarios, we still feel like NIP, the ability for Alistar to play off of a Cassio, Trundle, and Gnar together, it's quite nice to set up for the Cassio and alleviate, or just create a lot of focus around you that can allow Ezreal to run rampant later on. Hold on, is that Stand United?
All right, this is a flash out, but here comes Jiejie, the hop away. Let's break the tether, gonna get under the turret, not in time. And Jiejie will be able to close out on the kill. Meanwhile, Photic gets taunted up. That exhaust, it doesn't matter. It's Elk picking up his second kill, and Weibo Gaming off to the races.
Yeah, and Fengyue was on reset there, so I mean, two positive plays from Weibo, just having members in lanes where NIP didn't. As you can see, Guwon just took a base. Alistar did too. So Weibo, they wrap up the play. They got to respond with bases of their own. I think the option for NIP is to try and hit this dragon on spawn maybe, because Paranoia won't be up, and both Weibo lanes just responded after the play. But a 2k gold lead secured by Weibo off that as they win in both sides. Good plays coming out across the map.
I think the biggest difference between the NIP that we're seeing 11 minutes into this game and the NIP we saw in their last time out is that Guwon is on a champion that can be proactive, but has to walk at you, doesn't have any extra tools to try to get into the fight. You know, it's not a Kiana, it's not an Fury that has ways to get in quickly.
This. I really like this walk from Hoya. Again, I really feel like they need to hit this dragon before Paranoia comes back up. Seeing the team fight screen, that's a long way away. So Hoya got that wave in, was just walking down, threatening Mega. That takes away any opportunity for Weibo to even try and contest that. As Xiaohu was going to push Hoya back up, will force the Mega, but he doesn't lose a lot. He'll take losing a creep or two to make sure this team did secure that second dragon successfully. So good response by NIP. They got the first two Drakes, but this gold lead's big for Weibo.
Hang on. This is massive. Hoya could keep going, but he will think better of it. I'm not really seeing too many members on the map. Doesn't want to fight off a little bit more than he can chew. Now we're going to see a contest with the crowd. There's that subjugated. Is Jiejie getting knocked up, getting hit by an Ezreal, but a big taunt coming through on the backside. Kara is going to drop, but now Xiaohu getting run at by Guwon, taking some mystic shots as well. There's that unleashed power doing a lot of damage. Elk can't quite get in there, but now they're going to turn their attention over to Fengyue. He's got a double knock up there, but he gets taunted up by JWei. Paranoia used, but not needed, and Weibo claims two more.
I think that initial engage from NIP, the miasma didn't really connect, and Kara doesn't have damage yet. In this matchup, you want to go for the treads. He actually skipped over the tier 2, which is an option on Cass, but yeah, this miasma connected onto Elk, but the combo doesn't come onto Elk either. So by attacking Jiejie, that Stand United absorbed a lot of the initial damage, and JWei has a beautiful engaged too as he connects, landing after that stand united. So it feels like NIP kind of split on the focus. I think that if they go straight for Elk, who was on the miasma and didn't have the stand united on him, that might have been the better look off the rip. And that's really punishing because they throw all that damage into the stand united shield and just straight up lose on the fight hard. So 2K gold lead turns into 3 for Weibo.
That petrifying gaze put down by Kerr did not hit anybody. I think it even missed JWei, who was just behind him, all up in his face. So a very tough start for NIP, despite the fact that they've gotten all the objectives so far. Herald's going to be up in 1 minute and 30 seconds. And I feel like you're at a point here where you kind of need to park the bus a little bit. Go get your item on Kerr.
Oh, don't say park the bus.
Wait for Photic to get that Muramana and fight on that Ezreal 2 items.
Park the bus. I'm not a soccer fan. I'm calling it soccer. I
can see that.
That took on an entirely different meaning for me after the World Cup, that phrase, I will say. I got to give that credit. Not in the positive way, Yanni, but, you know.
Well, you don't like your League of Legends team parking you don't like your LPL team parking the bus?
I mean, I feel like that might be Fengyue's nickname. Just park the bus. He's the tall guy. It kind of works.
What?
He's just the boss. He's playing defense. He's the bodyguard. He's the Alistar.
Yeah, but his engages have been what's really, really good. I mean, I guess you could have defensive engages, but I don't know if
well, you got to play on defense now. You're down 3.5K gold. It's at least 10 in the box. Yeah.
Yeah, having a bit of a rough time. He's had 2 of those deaths, but has had to give his life at times to make sure that other members of IP can escape, getting a little bit of ward coverage taken away on that top side. Weibo Gaming just having complete control of that top side jungle.
We'll say a bit curious for Kara's build. I think the Cassio, you don't always have to go tier into Roya, as we got to pause because we're going to 4-man dive now.
All right. Let's see if you can find your way out of this one, Zika. You're getting slammed against the wall. You're getting knocked up.
Ooh.
That boy did not go anywhere. And this turret is going to melt with triple grubs.
Still going over to Fengyue, not exactly what NIP wanted, as the E damage tick was enough to get the Alistar that kill. Do lose out on the race to first brick, which is secured by Weibo on the top side, as Xiaohu took that one for himself. But the 3-grub team and NIP will respond in kind, with bot lane tower and Rift Herald secured in that sequence of play as well by Jiejie. So I think small chance that Weibo ends up using that as a battle herald for this upcoming dragon coming up. We have a Hex Soul on the Rift and an opportunity for NIP to secure a soul point here.
If you can break this stacking from NIP, you're in a great spot as Weibo. I mean, they're already in a good enough spot, but this is a we are going to end the game type spot, because you've got this Cassiopeia and Ezreal on the other side who haven't had a chance to scale up yet and get there. Now, Photic is not going to be on 2 items right now for the great early start that he had, being ahead of Elk in the laning phase. I mean, Elk has just collected 3 kills.
Yeah, and on a Kaisa too. 3-item Kaisa. It's that is a win con in itself. As I will say, I'm kind of curious. Picture this, Yanni. Jiejie, Paranoia into the back line. Little happy feet wombo combo. You get to drop Shelly, and then you get to drive the bus in the back line.
Oh my goodness.
Against 10 of the box, you get to drive the bus.
Oh, this is
How about that?
This is too much. No one man should have all that power, as Guwon is taken below half HP. The dragon has been started, so NIP are very well aware of the desperation here to secure this. Hoya has gone mega, so you do have an opportunity to try to get in there. His ultimate is kind of the glue that holds this team together. Lights are going to go out. Who's going to be home? What a scatter of the week, hitting everybody. Zika's onto the back line, but it's secured by NIP as this dragon. JWei getting in the thick of things with a taunt. Jiejie has full HP, but is now starting to drop as NIP have turned the fight on its head. Photic is healthy, but he gets hit by a scatter. The unleashed power doesn't quite pop him, and he is able to limp away. NIP get a couple kills and get the prize.
Down 3.5K gold. They get 2 kills and the dragon. Elk will clean up the mid-outer, but NIP thrilled with that fight. And really, we talked about NIP going into this game, Yanni. We liked the formation of the 5v5. That was a Weibo diving the Cassio, the Trundle, the Alistar, and we got to see them hold the line really well, as it was so hard for Weibo to get through the Trundle pillar and get through the miasma to actually get onto the carries of NIP, as Karen Photic went untouched and ravaged Weibo's front line.
The gold hasn't quite moved, but NIP critically picking up that third dragon means that the next one in 4 minutes is soul for them if they get it. Hextech soul, very valuable soul, as Xiaohu is dead on a side lane, something we have seen happen a lot. It is Hoya getting the kill and Photic making a cameo appearance as the top turret's going to drop.
These overloads from NIP have been really good. I like the fact they're not signing up to just play 3 lanes against the Shen Nocturne. I think by trying to make a proactive play like that, you're at least eliminating, what is guaranteed to be down numbers elsewhere. If you try and play 3 lanes and kind of let the Nocturne and Shen run the game at their own pace. So, Fengyue, really nice reading the game, and that's going to continue on to Elk.
Oh, like this look. Oh, nice play by Elk there. It is going to cost his flash, but keeps himself alive. That's really all you can ask for.
Was needed. Kara did have the flash to try and flash Miasma to guarantee that one. Don't see it used that time. I think that's well worth just taking Elk's flash for, but interaction to look out for in the future. We already saw 1 flash Miasma. I think that given you have a Trundle and Alistar on your team, we could see Kara go for that again to try and find a priority target.
Yeah, we'll watch out for that in the next team fight. Let's go all the way back to this replay here. I thought this was kind of cooked once Guwon got this low.
Yeah, I mean, this is a full dive into NIP's comp, which, again, deals with those dives well. So the defense they were able to play, I just kind of want you to focus on the pillar that Guwon drops and then the Miasma. Because you're right, this first scatter is really good, but Weibo aren't able to get enough out of it. That Miasma, they can't walk through the dragon for it. Elk's not in range. He's kind of going back and forth. So, yeah, Zika sends it in. It's decent. But now the pillar, too, like, Elk gets caught by the double petrifying gaze. It gets onto both carries. Weibo's carries just weren't able to do damage that time. The dive came in, NIP kited back. The carries couldn't get in range to fight. Ended up being a fight where NIP turtled. They got the dragon off a good smite. They got 2 kills and really kind of made this a closer game again. Because Hexsoul is the dragon that you want to have soul point for. Because it's a game warper if you get that soul.
Yeah, the value you get out of it, especially with an Ezreal on your team, too. You're going to just slow up Weibo, deal a bunch of extra damage, and to make it so difficult for them to try and stand and fight. NIP a really impressive showing in that last one. Care specifically, as you mentioned, had one heck of a fight. This team is just so explosive between the team fight ultimates of Care and Hoya and the ability for Fengyue to do things and cause a lot of problems on this Alistar. As your favorite, the graph here has NIP at a 57% chance to win.
It's a more accurate graph than most, we'll put it that way.
Alright, Fengyue getting tagged up, but he's fine.
I think
he's trying to take vision at this point.
I think that the tough part for Weibo at this point is they don't really have great targets for Nocturne. And I know that we talked about the Shen Nocturne, you can always overload on side. But I really like what we see NIP doing, which is they're trying to get one wave in. They're not pushing that wave in until they spot Weibo. And then they're just trying to play stack. Because they know that if they try and play too many parts of the map, they will get picked apart by what Weibo has to offer as one of the more fun interactions of the game there. Cinder W on a Epic Monster. Secures, but TP coming in might have a fight.
Yep, Hoya coming in from base, has no Narbar, immediately gets taunted. Lots of CC's got to hop out, down below half HP. But now we're going to find a way onto Elk. The Stand United goes on to Elk. Jiejie just getting to the front line as Weibo Gaming are driving NIP away. NIP are still healthy enough to go after this, especially with Jiejie down to about half HP. There's a Trundle pillar there. Remember, no flash on Elk. That Ghost got popped on
Weibo,
top
no
of
ults. Weibo's down ults. I think this fight's really hard for Weibo. They don't have ults up. This should be a better posture for NIP, and Jiejie's going to have to flash.
Yeah, and Hoya's about to go mega in a second, forces that flash out of Jiejie, as you mentioned. And they're all scattered.
Watch away.
JWei, yeah, he's the one looking for a big flank here.
Spotted.
Can he find the big taunt? He is walking up. Scatter lands onto one. Taunt lands onto a couple. Elk gets exhausted, and he is dead. Photic gets the job done. Zika's locked up. He falls too. That's going to be Hextech Soul for NIP, and they're not done yet. It's Xiaohu who flashes away, but is being run down by Trundle, by Cassiopeia, and it is another kill for NIP. There's pings onto the Baron, and it looks like it's all theirs.
And I think once that initial engage engage misses for Weibo. Their ults are down, and they couldn't find the fight. Zika missed the public execution on a target who was feared. As, look at, there's no paranoia, no stand united, no unleashed power. It's only Elk who has ult, and he got exhausted. Even this engage in, Jiejie has to be so careful about going in, and Xiaohu's out of mana. So Weibo just don't have the tools needed to try and take this fight, because the initial group up formation, they didn't get enough out of the ults that they used, as NIP were able to absorb that, reset, take the objective fight, and take full control over this game.
What's really interesting about Xiaohu being out of mana is that, remember, he grabbed the blue buff that Jiejie smited. Jiejie had blue buff for that fight, which means Xiaohu could have had an opportunity to try and pick up that blue buff, elected not to, was not able to make as big of an impact in that team fight, and could be what spells doom for Weibo Gaming here in game one. That record, that 18-13 record, looming to be 18-14 at this point, as NIP are in total control.
And I almost want to take a second look at the engage before the fight that broke out, because I feel like the fight before the fight was so indicative of how the Dragon fight actually turned out. Because, again, the public execution going wide, I believe there was a stand united on the back of Zika, too.
Oh, there's
so
a TP
really
on the backside.
Big loss. Okay, here we go.
All right, lights are out. Xiaohu's got to try to find the angle, but it's a little split for right now. It's that petrifying gaze, but immediately blown up as this Cassiopeia. Public execution not quite going to land. Scatter the Weak does, in fact, but here comes Hoya to join the fight. Need a little bit of Narbar. It's a 5v4. Fengyue going to take that portal out. Looks like the rest of NIP will try to follow suit, but now they're all split up. Guwon and Photic are split.
I think the portal failed, or the cooldown went on. It didn't seem like Photic was able to grab it. Either that or he took damage before. Weibo forced them out and bought themselves some time. So that time they kind of used to fix their waves, and they're going to get a decent reset. So it's not a lot in terms of getting an advantage, but it does do a nice job of buying themselves sometimes, as it's now Weibo's turn to try and park the bus. You know, parking the bus actually went much better for NIP in this game than it went for England. So we got to give them credit for that. You know?
I told you, Cubby. I knew it would have been a sound strategy, but you're absolutely right. Xiaohu has now gotten to his max splinters, so he does get that extra 15% increase to his ability power. You mentioned earlier, 3-item Kaisa is a win condition. Well, Elk just came back from picking up that 3rd item, so it is certainly playable for Weibo Gaming. It is just very difficult with this Hextech Soul. You see how low Elk already is, and the gold starting to spill into the pockets of NIP with every structure they take.
Yeah, I think even if NIP actually had C9 in front of the player names, I don't even think that Weibo could win this one. I think this Hextech Soul is probably going to be a doomsday scenario.
Well, if it was a playoff game for C9 to get to an international, then Weibo Gaming would have it handled.
So yeah, also the 2 Hex Soul games earlier in the split. I think one was in the playoffs, one was regular season. But that was quite the straight. I'm sorry to C9 and NA fans about that one, but that was some low-hanging fruit. And my point about NIP in this game being, I don't want to say unlosable, but I'd give them 80% plus chance to win this. It stands as the Alistar, Trundle, and Cassio combo, just the amount of space it buys for Ezreal, and honestly how comfy Ezreal, Alistar, Trundle, Cassio feel into this full dive comp. It did show pretty early for Weibo. And this wasn't a pivot. Like they had the early Nocturne Shen. They went Kaisa. I think they showed dive early, and a lot of the picks that NIP took, they responded well to it, but I also really liked how they didn't make themselves vulnerable on side lanes. We didn't really get to see Nocturne plus Shen get any advantages, and I feel like NIP being very disciplined about 4-1ing this game and trying to team up, shove out those sides before they reset, and not getting caught on sides in even or neutral wave states, or even +1 or -1 wave states. And NIP deserves a lot of credit for that. And this team, you know, nameplate-wise, like a lot of LPL fans look at these names and are like, why isn't Elk and Weibo playing better, given the names we have on each roster? NIP were better in Split 2, and they're showing that they're better with a new look bot lane, really, with Fengyue stepping in Split 3 as well.
Yeah, brand new bot lane, have hardly missed a beat. Awesome and Shuo were such a good bot lane in Split 2.
Early to Lucian Nilio.
Yeah, one of the better ones that we had, and you know,
they had some good reads, good play.
Yeah, despite the fact that you've got a new bot lane, it looks like they're fairly well synergized. They played lane pretty fine. And you know, their last game had a really solid showing. So All is smiles for NIP at the moment. Now 40 seconds until this Elder Dragon is up, and when there's a Nocturne on the other team, no objective is truly safe. Cubby, we have seen many games flipped at the Herald, not the Herald, the Elder Dragon, and a lot of summoners up on every side. We're still missing Photic Flash. Zika's Flash should be coming up soon.
I think if you're NIP, it's just, you should never put yourself in a position to flip this Elder. It should be about playing the poke game with the Ezreal and the Hex Soul, and trying to force Weibo to come into you when the terms are already bad with the HP war that you win early on. And right now, they haven't boxed out from getting into that Dragon Pit. So Hex Deck Soul Poke going to be coming in and going to be hitting hard.
Yeah, it's going to get the heal out of JWei, as this line of scrimmage put up here by NIP is truly impressive. And now they're going to look for a little bit more. Elk, his flash is going to be down. Lights are out. Who are we going in on? There's a knock-up over on the side. The shift for Photic, he gets feared, but everything is okay. And now Hoya is looking to come in from the side and get a little bit of rage bar to make things happen. Elk gets onto the back line, but he is stunned up, knocked up, and taken down. And Weibo Gaming are getting knocked down. Xiaohu is the lone survivor. It's a triple kill for Care, and this one will be finished off by Guwon, as NIP will push it down the bot lane and will take game one over Weibo Gaming.
Man, Kair's Cassio looks like another Greek mythic character in this game from a different story. Didn't use the skin for that one, as I'm a Mythic Cassio fan. But NIP, it was a 5-0, 3K gold lead for Weibo. NIP bring this defensive comp together, and the dive from Weibo could never break through the defense that NIP had for this comp and themselves throughout this game.
Not in the slightest, Cubby, and this is a composition that we had a lot of praise for Weibo for. This is a well thought out composition, and early on executed fairly well, but as you mentioned, NIP just did not give Weibo opportunities. It felt like from the moment they were down 5-0, and we said they had to park the bus, they might have been listening to the stream, because, you know, they listened. They decided to lock it up, play very carefully, and if that meant sacrificing side lanes a little bit, that's okay. It gets you there, it gets you scaling. Ezreal and Cassiopeia got real big, did a lot of big damage in these fights, and ultimately that's why NIP came away with a victory.
Yeah, I really feel like kind of going back and looking at that one in draft, it felt like the big missing element was there was a lack of public executions that happened in that game, which I think would have maybe changed the big fights, but also when you show the Nocturne and Bessa that early, we could kind of see the theory between the scatters and the fear connecting and at least trying to make sure that you end up with those big combos. But Zika had a really quiet game, and I think team-wise that the pre-fight scenarios, NIP's ability to just kite back and play defense, diving into Alistar is not an easy task. On his lonesome. And then you factor in a Cassio, an Ezreal, Trundle. It's a really happy comp to absorb those dives. And NIP did so very well in that game.
Yeah, they did. And those lack of public executions in those fights, as you mentioned, very, very true. Yeah. The good news is a couple of them went wide, couple of strays. I caught a couple strays here. We're good. We have a couple public executions because of this.
So, some good rips there, Yanni. Yeah,
thank you, Zika.
Bad.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
As take a look at the damage charts, and Xiaohu certainly made impacts in these fights. The Scout of the Weeks were good, but we never saw the moment of Syndra going, ah, yes, I'm going to full combo with the squishy Photic and going to one-shot him. We saw him down to about 100 HP, but nothing after that. And it's just a matter of Syndra not getting to a late enough part of the game. The first two items you get are really good for fights, but sustained fights rather than just bursting out one target.
Yeah, I think that if I'm kind of curious to just look at the replays of this game and just see how many times NIP is clicking back while Weibo carries were not like already in range or able to actually make an impact. This was really the one fight that we saw go heavily Weibo's way, and we talked afterwards about the focus maybe being a little bit off. Weren't able to connect on to Elk in the back line, and they threw a lot of the damage into the Stand United, which at this point NIP doesn't have the damage to get through. But from here, it really felt like NIP, I just kind of want to see the other fights, because I think we're just going to have a lot of scenarios where Weibo are sending it into the back line, and Weibo's carries just can't follow up.
Yeah, they're too far away, and you have this damage, right? But we did talk about it earlier in the game. As the game goes on, the Nocturne's not going to be one-shotting these people in the backline. Earlier in the game, I mean, even when he's getting on top of Photic and Photic is shifting away, he's still doing good damage, and is still causing a problem that way. But later on, it's not going to matter. You're maybe going to do 25% of his HP because you didn't get kills off of those early paranoias. It's all about getting the kills, getting the gold, and being a lethal Nocturne. And there's only scenarios where we saw him be particularly lethal like this, where there's just a 4v1. Sure, that's a great play, but then there's scenarios like this where you go in and nobody else can get there.
Yeah, it's fun. I feel like the replays we got, like a couple of them, I really feel like the pre-fight going into that Hextech Soul fight was kind of the determiner of the game. Because that Hex Soul fight, I really just don't think that Weibo had a chance to win that fight based on what happened before. With just not getting enough out of the Paranoia and the Stand United. So some of those didn't connect well. And again, I think that is something where a lot of the champions that NIP pick, I didn't bring this up in draft, so I'm going to hindsight Harry myself a little bit here too. But it's really tough to play Nocturne into Gnar, Cassio, Alistar, Trundle. Like, your spell shield doesn't feel good against an Alistar. Yeah, you can push Trundle around early, but that pillar makes life tough for you later on, and you can't blow up Trundle. And you can't blow up Cassio, you can't blow up Gnar. Gnar, you have a small window too, but pretty easy for Gnar to get away from you when he's in mini, or throw you around when he's in mega. And just feel like we saw the Nocturne run out of gas in that one. As maybe a pog for Care, I gotta say. I was a little bit up in the air about who I thought actually deserved the pog for that game, Yanni. I'm a hair surprised it's not Photic, quite frankly. I think that the boom doom damage was there. But Care had some really impactful fights and a solid game on the Cassiopeia.
Yeah, I think the team as a whole generally played quite well. You really need to as a unit in order to come back from scenarios like that. But I mean, think about most of the things we mentioned in these fights as key points. The miasma and the petrifying gaze. If those are your key points, your bread and butter to a good fight against this Weibo Gaming squad, you're going to do it. However, this split is crazy. So the AI has voted for jungle. We were thinking, we had a conspiracy theory that the AI was just going to start voting for whatever ended up being the player of the game. Like a hindsight Harry, just like you. Because earlier on, the AI had a lot of differences, but then as things went on, they started being in lockstep. I really wish that I could read this, because I'd like to know the justification for a Guwon player of the game here, honestly. I don't think it's a bad vote, but I just want to know the justification.
We do have Kai helping us behind, so maybe we'll end up with the justification afterwards. I'm interested about that. I really felt like that was a Photic player of the game. We'll say that for Kara too, at least for his pog, first 3 levels, we saw him push the Syndra out. I think that's really big. If you don't win those first couple levels as Cassio, you just kind of get baptized by Syndra, who with more levels can throw more W's and scatters at you and try and space you out. So really big that Kara was able to cash in on the first couple of levels with the Cassio matchup, and did actually set Xiaohu behind. So do want to give him kudos. I think that's one that fans may not know or realize at home, that I thought Kara actually did quite well in that game, as Captain Care helps his team get game 1 win over Weibo and reassert NIP being above Weibo in the standings, where they sat at the end of Group Ascend last split.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Weibo Gaming are going to be able to turn it over in games 2 and 3 and get a couple of wins. And, Cubby, it's late where I'm at. It's 3:50 in the morning right now. I went to sleep at about this time yesterday and only slept 4 hours, so I've had to consume a lot of caffeine. You know what's a great caffeinated beverage? Coffee.
What would that be, Yanni? Really?
Coffee. Yeah. And did you know that coffee is also the best way to support the LPL English project? Now, Cubby, do you know why? I think it's because the vast majority of your contributions go directly into the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it pays on-air talent and our content creators. Subscribe to the coffee that'll be linked in the chat. You can unlock perks like early access to content, the ability to ask interview questions for unique on-site interviews, just in case you weren't able to get a ticket to Worlds.
But before we throw it a break, can we go back to that image? Because there's something funny, and I actually have a request for the team moving forward. Because that image that we had, it was Wenbo was over Bin. So what if in the future we now have, like, I can tell that that's been behind, like, there's like just enough that I know that So what if we put like Hoya in there next, and then we also put like Flandre
There's no
in
reason
there?
to put Hoya there. We
No,
can
there
put
is.
Flandre there.
There might be. I really like the fact like we just leave hints of like what the carousel actually was. Like there needs to be something left in the wreckage so that whoever walks in next understands like what happened before, you know?
I don't understand what's going on there. We're getting roster changes in the middle of Split 3. It's always great. But with that, we're going to go ahead and take our break. And when we return, it will be the Game 2 draft between NIP and Weibo Gaming.